The Arnold Clark Reel sale is now on.
Welcome to the Football Show. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to have your company. As ever, over the festive period, we always like to deliver specials with very special guests coming in to talk about their football career. And of course, we like to give you the chance to look over maybe some of those specials that you've missed along the way. This one in particular was very close to my heart because Joe Miller has been a regular on the Football Show, and it was great to get an insight into Joe as a player because he had a career laden with medals. He won the Scottish Cup with Aberdeen, the Premier League title with Celtic, and he worked under some very influential managers indeed, Sir Alex Ferguson and Billy McNeill, to name two in his career. Joe came into the studio over 4 parts. He discussed, first of all, signing for Aberdeen and working under the great man Sir Alex Ferguson. Hope you enjoy Joe Miller. We're going to look back in your career. It seems like only yesterday. Apart from the grey hairs, you still look more or less the same. But the big surprise, I think, for many people was how did you end up at Aberdeen instead of your boyhood heroes Celtic?
I know. back in the day, it was pretty common for Alex Ferguson and Archie Knox to come down to Glasgow and look for all the talent. And I was no different. I was playing in the East End of Glasgow, and it was an uncle of mine that used to scout for Alex Ferguson at the time when he was the manager of St Mirren. He recommended me to Aberdeen, and he came to watch me a few times and signed me right away.
Yeah, was it his charismatic personality that really, forced you down that line, or persuaded you rather than forced you?
It was the persuasion side of things, and I remember the day I was playing in the streets with my friends for school, and I got a shout to go up the road because he was sitting in the living room. One of my father's customers told me to go on the bus and get up the road. So, when I walked into the house, I seen he was sitting there and he was very keen to get me to sign S for him. So I had no hesitation in listening to what he had to say, and I always thought I would maybe try to get to Celtic someday, but after speaking to my dad at the time, he was saying, if Celtic wanted you bad enough, the Celtic manager would be sitting in the living room, but you've got him, Sir Alex Ferguson, sitting there. So I had no hesitation in signing.
Yeah, I think at that time, Ruffy, it's probably easier on the basis that, he's signing at a time when Aberdeen are a good side. They've won the Premier Division. They've broken that Celtic Rangers stranglehold. It's not too difficult to think, well, it's no longer about just 1 and 2 forces in Scottish football. There were actually 4 at the time.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you're a young player, and if somebody comes calling and you see where they are and the players have got, you just want to be a part of that setup. And I suppose that's what persuaded Joe to go there. But certainly, I've heard if Alex Ferguson comes to your door, and he's very, very persuasive, and I'm sure that's what he's done. But it would have been a no-brainer at the time, as you said, because Aberdeen were doing so well. Yeah,
and of course, we talked about Fergie. Everybody knows some of the great stories of the hairdryer treatment. Of course, he was an out-and-out winner as well. But there must have been great qualities when you actually got to play under him, where a lot of people talk about his man management skills on an individual basis, Joe.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it took a lot of time and realising your attributes as well. He always gave you pointers and knew the opposition. So when he picked his side he picked his side on a Friday, actually, most of the time. So they knew what the team was going to be, how we were going to perform. And then whenever I was maybe told to play a position or I was up against a certain player, he had the player down to a T, and he actually gave me advice on how to go by him, whether it was his good side or bad side, and go inside him or outside him, or beat him for pace. He always gave you these little pointers, but he filled you with that much confidence. You went out that park feeling $1 million, and you weren't going to come off that park, with a defeat behind you. You're coming off that park winning, because that was the mentality he rammed into us all. But I was around a lot of good, experienced players, and it was great for myself. Only 16, 17 years of age, getting into the first team, and I had all these guys that had just come off the back of winning the Cup Winners' Cup, and You know, he set such a high standard, and as we said there, you know, there was a force of four, there was a challenge for the title back then, and you know, different than nowadays. But you know, you had Dundee United and Aberdeen and Celtic and Rangers, so it was a strong league then. Strong players, experienced players.
Yeah, and of course, you've got to tell us the story. You talk about getting into the team at 17, but he actually wanted you in the team when you were at school.
Yeah, that's right. We were allowed, when you were in S form back then, you were allowed to play reserve fixtures 3 times a year, so you could go down as a trialist. And I got a call my dad got a call to go up and play this game. It was at Cowdenbeath, and it turned out to be a reserve fixture. And when I walked into the dressing room, the whole first team was sitting there, and it was a punishment from the previous Saturday, and I was only 14, 15 years of age, and I walked in, and you know, you had Miller, McLeish, Leighton, you know, McMaster, even Stuart Kennedy was sitting there as well, and Eric Black, Dougie Bell, Neil Cooper, all these guys, Peter Weir, all fantastic players. And I remember my uniform, I wore a grey uniform at the time. I mean, it was saturated by the time I even got into my strip. So I was full of nerves, but you know, what a helper, what an experience it was. And that was probably my first ever start. And I kind of count that as a first team game. It was the first team that was there.
First time around, you mentioned all the players. Were there any Aberdeen players in particular you thought, oh, this is a joy to play with this guy?
Starting off my career, you know, I was a centre forward, so I had the kind of pace up front to run in behind people. But you know, we did a lot getting, you know, with Fergie's use of wingers. I think Peter Weir was an exceptional player. Obviously, Miller McLeish were stalwarts at the back, and Jim Leighton in goals, and he had a squad full of internationals playing for Scotland, you know, and that was his big thing. All these players had to be capped, and you know, but one particular player stuck out a mile, and that for me was Peter Weir. Just the service you used to get from him, and the patience he had, just to stay in that box before you made the run until he got by somebody. He didn't even have to get by, and he used to just bend it round people. So he was a great crosser of the ball, and I got a lot of goals from him.
And see, when you were up there, and obviously you said you were initially a centre forward, when did it start getting to your mind that I'm not going to be a centre forward, I'm going to be a traditional winger like a Weir or a Scanlon or anything like that? Did they sort of build that into your game, or did you know that?
No, I never ever played on out wide. I was always through the middle, right through till I was a schoolboy. So I didn't play wide till I came to Celtic, and I think Billy McNeill was more or less, you know, spoilt for choice, where he had Mark McGee, Frank McAvenny and Andy Walker all vying for 2 positions, and then myself was coming in, so that was 4 strikers that he had at his disposal. But I could probably see that from the position that I used to play for Aberdeen, there wasn't a right-sided winger, because Peter Weir was on the left-hand side, so I had that channel to run into and to take the ball wide. So I think that's maybe where Billy McNeill seen that I could maybe go down the right side and hug the touchline when I joined Celtic.
Yeah, and even the calibre of players that we're talking about first time around, Ruffy. You know, he's mentioned Billy Stark there. He's mentioned, you know, the Miller and McLeish that are the stalwarts in the back line for Aberdeen as well. Middle to front, they were a match for anybody.
Yeah, and Joe's mentioned the players that we all know, the Millers and that, but they had the McMasters. You know, guys who, you know, did their workman-like job and were fantastic players. Jim Bett as well come in there. They had
Gordon Strachan.
They had abundance of players, you know, that obviously most of them went on to play for Scotland, but some of them didn't. But the ones that didn't still had a big part to play in the team.
Of course, Aberdeen would go on to win the title. You wouldn't get a medal for that. I think you only get 1 appearance, am I right?
Yeah, I just made my debut against Dundee United. But, you know, I was playing a lot for the reserves and getting experience. You had a lot of, that was the time where, you know, experienced players were coming in if they weren't playing for the first side, the first team, and it was just great to be part of it. You know, being surrounded by winners.
Yeah.
So it was great for myself.
1986, the Scottish Cup final. I mean, a lot of people will probably look back on that year as heartache for Hearts, but for you, jubilation. You're in the side. You've got a medal. I mean, what was that team like all the way through? You were pipped, obviously, for the title by Celtic.
Yeah, it was a great season. I was starting to get established myself in and around the first team dressing room, so I didn't have to do all the chores, the cleaning up all the kits and then brushing the boots. But it was great for those guys that were there. Were fantastic, and passing on little nuggets of of their experience onto you and try to help you with your career was fantastic. And I remember sitting beside Peter Weir and John McMaster one day. He says, it's guys like us that we don't worry about the guys beside us. It's the guys like you that are coming in for the next dressing room and forcing us out the team. So we're going to try and help you as much as we can, because it's not going to last forever for us. So they were great to be around and passing on little nuggets, helping you through your game and training as well. So it was superb. Great time.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Ruffy? That's what real team players are like. They help each other rather than hinder each other.
Yeah, but I think that's what it was like then. No, I know you're laughing at that, and I can see why you're laughing at it. You think you'd be locking your door and messing you up and hiding your boots and everything, but no.
He's talking
back
about
then,
the goalies union. He's talking
yeah,
That's exactly what I'm talking
I'll
about,
come to
Joe.
that later.
Yeah.
But no, that's what it was like back there. I think when you're in a successful team, you're all in it together. There wasn't any prima donnas, anybody. Well, some people obviously thought they were better than others, but you didn't get that in a dressing room because there was too many characters in a dressing room. That everybody had something to say, and when you're on a crest of a wave like they were, the dressing room must have been great to be in.
Well, I was going to say that, but over and above that, Joe, you're in the Scottish Cup final. Did you sense going out at Hampden that day that the stuffing was knocked out of Hearts?
Yeah, because Celtic had picked him for the league that year. They were demoralised and they had to pick themselves up. But Aberdeen still had a good season, and I actually think I scored. We scraped through against Arbroath, and I got there was hurricane winds that day, and I managed to get the goal that took us on to the semis. And but to get a place, I was on the bench that day. I came on with Billy Starr. We were very confident we were going to win that because the team gelled. We were starting to hit a bit of form, and I managed to make the bench, and because Fergie went with all the experience that day to get the cup, and all the celebrations afterwards up at Aberdeen. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a city where you become a player, but you have to embrace being part of the community as well.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Aberdeen's totally different from Glasgow. As one team, one city, and they were allowed the parade through the open top bus through the city, and then they went to the town hall. So it was great to be a part of all that. I hadn't experienced that before, and it was great to be a part of that, and all the other players keep me in line for things, but. Yeah. At that time, the celebrations didn't go too far for myself because I wasn't allowed to drink at the time.
Yeah, sure, Joe. So I've got to ask you, first time around Aberdeen, is there a particular game that sticks in your memory where you just really enjoyed it?
Probably when we got through to Europe. I scored against Feyenoord. It was just one of my early European ties. And, we went over there, and I had a good game that night, so it goes back to that. It was only the highlights you seen back here, but it was great, great experience, and put myself against some of Europe's best at the time. So I really enjoyed a lot of games up there, but it was all about getting experience, and it's something that you don't see these days, where 16, 17-year-olds are breaking through early. You've not got the managers who are prepared to take that risk. They'd rather maybe spend several millions on a player, or play a player that's over 21 or 22 who has a bit of experience. So it's something you don't see these days. But I enjoyed every day up there, and took everything in. Never talked to a turn to players. They just were there to help me.
Yeah. Did you sense that Fergie was on his way?
I did, because I think he took Aberdeen as far as he could, because he started to dominate football, Scottish football, with him and Jim McLean, and Davy Hay was at Celtic at the time, and I think it was John Gregan or Jock Wallace, it was at Rangers. So, you know, they were all great managers. And after Fergie won the Cup Winners' Cup and the Super Cup, I think he made his decision up then that if somebody comes calling, then he would maybe go. And, you know, the biggest club probably in Britain at the time, you know, came calling for him. But, you know, I just was a wee bit shocked at the time, but then I didn't realise that the interest he was going to come back in for me at the time.
Yeah, I've got to ask you the question, Joe. You know, and some people will ask this question who maybe, you know, will look at the lure of Manchester United. Yeah. But am I led to believe that even Liverpool were in there, Man United are in there, but you chose Celtic? Mm-hmm. Why, Joe? Why?
Well, back then I didn't have the luxury of freedom of movement, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It was pre-Bosman, and I didn't have an agent. My father had played football, so he kind of guided me. But pre-Bosman was where you could only go to the club and talk to the club and negotiate with the club that paid the fee. So it was only Celtic that came up with the money. I mean, Liverpool and Manchester United were prepared to wait to the end of the season to where they might have not paid as much money.
Yeah.
But Celtic wanted me at that time where they could kick on and seen me as, you know, Billy McNeill wanted me to be a part of a jigsaw puzzle that he thought that could win the centenary year.
Was that the biggest lure for you, though? Because obviously in the next part of the programme we're going to talk about the Celtic years, but you're at Aberdeen. Did you feel at that point, itchy feet, you thought, oh, I've got to move, and Fergie's turned your head, Kenny Dalglish has turned your head, and Billy McNeill? I mean, it's three huge characters all vying for your services.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing them sitting in the stands at some of the games that we were playing, and there was all the newspapers at the time, from weeks on end, every week, there was the managers watching me. And then out of the blue, Celtic came in for me, and I didn't know nothing about it, but I was a Celtic supporter growing up as a boy, and coming from the East End of Glasgow, it was a no-brainer at the time, you know, for a decision to be made. But I didn't realise at the time how upset Alex Ferguson was when I joined Celtic, because he was told that he would be given first refusal if I was ever going to be put in the transfer. And I don't think Aberdeen gave him that courtesy at the time, and he wasn't a happy man. I think he made it clear the next day after I signed that the shackles were off. And you know, he was going to come back in for Aberdeen. I think he came in for Alec McLeish as well.
Yeah.
So, and then Jim Leighton also went there. So, you know, it was a different time. Maybe I would have chose Manchester United if, you know, you were able to talk and negotiate and maybe go down and try your hand at England. But pre-Bosman, that was the stumbling block.
Here's a great question then, and this is just all hypothetical, Joe, but we've got to put you in the position. Man United agreed to pay the exact same fee, Celtic agreed to pay the exact same fee, and Liverpool. So the three of them are sitting there. There's Sir Alex, there's, well, it's not Sir Alex then, there's Alex. There's Kenny and there's Billy McNeill. You know, one of them has guided Aberdeen to the Cup Winners' Cup, the Super Cup. The other one's got 3 Champions League winners' medals in his tail, and the other one's the captain of the first British team to win the cup. Who do you join?
The team that's given me the most money. Simple as that.
Ruffy, you must love him for that answer.
Hey, but that's what it was like back then.
Was.
You know, was you didn't earn the kind of money that they're earning now. You know, so that's the first thing, the first bit of advice you get. You know, it's not about what club you're going to. It's you have to look after yourself and get a good deal. So you got a good deal then at Celtic.
I mean, it was. It was no. I'll tell you, it was. You know, they had a reputation that they weren't paying well, but you know, I think they were trying to change things. They had lured Frank up.
Yeah.
Frank McAvenny up prior to myself joining a couple of months earlier. So I knew they had money at their disposal.
Yeah.
And I also had the option of walking out, which I did. Actually, truth be told, I refused the contract because they actually offered me less than I was on at the time. So, but that kind of got rectified. Be sitting in the car park for 10 minutes and then I went back in and renegotiated. So, but you know, I knew it was available. If I could walk out of there, I had the option. It was a good option, as you say. It was great options to have where I could go talk or just sit out the next 6 months of the season to the end of the season and talk to Liverpool or Man United or whoever.
Great to hear Joe Miller there reflecting on a period in his career wearing the red of Aberdeen. Some great stories working under Fergie. Tomorrow night on the show, Joe turns his attentions to his time at his beloved Celtic. Of course, Joe, a Celtic fan, reflecting on joining Celtic at a crucial time in their history and how he played a vital part in helping Celtic win the double in their centenary year. We'll also look at Joe returning to Aberdeen for a second spell as well. Hopefully you can join us on the Football Show with Joe Miller tomorrow night.
The Arnold Clark Reel sale is now on.
Welcome to PLZ Soccer. Why not join the football family and download the PLZ app? You'll get all the latest Scottish football news and up-to-date news on English and world football. There's also a feature here where you can record yourself talking about your favourite team. If we use the video, you could feature on our football show. For all the latest news in Scottish football, download the PLZ Soccer app in the App Store and in Google Play. Come and join the football family on PLZ Soccer.